I'm delayed, okay? I'm delayed. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll cover a couple of important Kentucky political news items in News of the Week. Then we'll bring on our guest, which is Belle Townsend and the wonderful, most amazing Willie Carver Jr. Belle is wonderful as well and has recently released a poetry anthology focusing on rural voices called Discarded. And our dear friend of the show, Willie, has some of his work featured in the collection. We're excited to bring them both on and hear their perspectives on rural communities. Then we've got a call to action that we'd love for you to join in on, and it's super exciting show tonight. And we're so glad that you've joined us. And one of the reasons why I am so ecstatic tonight, first of all, my name is Kimberly Cecil Jones, and Aaron Viles is off for the evening. I have my very, very good friend, Willie Carver Jr., who formerly was a co-host here on Kernels of Truth, and he has agreed to be my sidekick tonight and just kind of reminisce and have a little fun tonight with you guys. You know, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Okay, am I right? But first, before I get into that, are you ready to help create a more compassionate Commonwealth? I know that you are. I didn't even really have to ask that question because I know that you are. It's clear we're going to need long-term power building to create better policies and outcomes in Kentucky. We hope that you'll support Progress Kentucky in our campaign to make that happen. Of course, there are two sources of power on the political playing field, and that's money or people. Let us know how you want to help. We're launching two new committees as we speak, one focused on the legislature, and I'm on that committee, and another focused on rural engagement. So if you're in Kentucky, progressive, and you're fired up to help bring more progressive progress to Kentucky, let us know. We're your people. Yes, we are your people. And we'll plug you into those efforts, or you can make a contribution right now via our secure online website. $5, $10, $20, $200, $2,000, whatever you feel in your heart to send to us. The Act Blue will be in the comments as well. So, and now it's time to check in with the one that I snatched. He was just supposed to be a guest tonight, but I snatched him and I said, hey, let's have a little fun. He's like, yeah, why not? And, you know, my good friend, Willie Carver Jr. So, but first, who and where are you? And what are you protesting today? And you on the internet. Yeah. We need for you to put into the comments where you're from as well. And let's hear what you're most concerned about today. I know there's a myriad of different things going on in the world today. I'm sure you can pick one thing that you're really, really concerned about. Also, feel free to put it in the chat. If you can't think of something right now, you are more than welcome to put it in at any time. Okay, it's all about you. and all about the Commonwealth. So, as I said before, my name is Kimberly Cecil Jones, and I'm coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky, Jefferson County, the largest county of all 120 counties in the Commonwealth, and a great city that it is. We have the University of Louisville, Kentucky Derby. We got so much stuff going here. If you haven't been here, you need to come. And I want to just say to my little sidekick tonight, my buddy, whom I love very dearly, what about you, Willie?
Well, one, I love Louisville too. I'm going to be speaking at Walden School tomorrow, and they just have all kinds of cool stuff at that school. But I am coming to you live from Montgomery County, from the city of Mount Sterling, with its beautiful regional arts center, which has recently won some awards. And if I were hip enough to remember, I could tell you. But come to Mount Sterling too; it's a great town. But yeah. Aaron wrote me maybe an hour ago and said, do you think you could co-host? But I was busy watching PBS British Masterpiece. But I'm here, and I'm so excited to be here. And what am I protesting tonight? I'm protesting cowardice.
You said no because you were looking. Didn't do? Oh my God,
No.
Aaron's going to kill me. We didn't do our protest sign. I'm so protest. I don't know what my protest sign is. Like, my protest sign is like, can we all just get along?
You know, I'm not joking. I was literally having that thought earlier. I was having that thought earlier. Can we actually all get along? And I was having it because Carrie Underwood, who is playing for Trump, spoke up today and said something along the lines of, she just wants us all to get along, and she's just doing this for unity. And I'm like, I don't know how it works, because I mean, we want unity, but on the same token, like, I don't want to be unified with certain people. I don't want to be unified with certain ideas. So I don't know how unity works at all. But my protest sign is standing up against cowardice. I just feel like I keep watching over and over people who are afraid to stand up and do what they've always been doing because of this new moment of ultra MAGAism. You see it in Facebook and Meta, you see it in schools, you see it in lots of companies and organizations, you see it at universities, where places will just quietly agree to get rid of curriculum about Black history, or will quietly agree to get rid of their DEI programs, or will quietly agree, yes, we're going to let people bully LGBTQ people. And I just have a feeling, because 5 years ago, these people were absolutely in favor of these things. I don't think that they dislike these things now. I think people are just so afraid and unwilling to stand up. So that's my protest sign. Grow a set, America.
Well, I do have a comment on that, that a lot of my white sisters out there that voted for whomever, they don't understand how DE&I, meaning diversity, equity, and inclusion, has really helped them. It's not saying that we interview you and we have to take a Black person or a woman or whatever that's not as qualified as someone else, such as someone said that Vice President Harris and our Secretary of Defense, they both said that they were diversity hires. Why? Because they're Black, perhaps? Maybe they had the qualifications, right? I mean, like women, all women.
Yeah. This is the same thing we're seeing happen in Los Angeles right now, with all the criticism of the fire chief, who is ridiculously qualified, has degrees in everything, decades of experience, but she's a woman. And so suddenly, and she might even be a Black woman if I remember. And so suddenly we have to question it. And
the
when in reality,
chief is a woman. The fire chief is a woman. Yeah.
then in reality, I think what's happened is once women, once people of color, once African Americans, um, 50, 60 years ago, and then more recently, 20 years, found themselves in these rooms that they weren't allowed in before. Turns out they're really, really good at what they do. And I think there's a lot of insecure men who will paint this picture however they can because they don't want to admit the fact that they're threatened. They're threatened by the talent. They're threatened by how good people are at their jobs.
Exactly. And there's no need to be threatened by anyone. Just
Mm-hmm.
step your game up, right? But
Mm-hmm.
let's get on to the news of the week. I've got two stories for you. I want to know what you think. Put it in the comments. And I also want to know what Willie thinks as well. Right now we have a situation where the our legislatures are out for their session. They won't return until the 1st of February. But there is a situation where a Republican lawmaker, again, files a bill to add exceptions to Kentucky's abortion ban. And I got this from the Kentucky Lantern and a great, great journalist, Sarah Ladd, great journalist. But, do I have to say what city this Republican comes from? It's a Louisville Republican. Can anybody guess who it may be? It's Representative Ken Fleming. He filed a bill on Friday that would add exceptions to Kentucky's near total abortion ban for cases of rape, incest, lethal fetal anomalies, and ectopic pregnancy. I can't even say the word. It's been so long since I've been pregnated, okay? Pregnancies. Abortions in case of rape or incest would need to happen within 6 weeks after the first day of the woman's last menstrual period. The bill states, and doctors who've spoken against Kentucky's abortion bills and restrictions have said 6 weeks is too early for most to know that they are pregnant. And as a woman with 2 children, that is true. Fleming's bill leaves determination of rape and incest to the physician's best clinical judgment that rape or incest caused the pregnancy. And he also filed an exception bill in 2024 as well. So he is on this for whatever reason. At that time, he cited his affection for his daughters as motivation for the move, and he was not immediately available to discuss his latest attempt. But most Kentuckians lost abortion access when in June of 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. It just breaks my heart to even, it just does something to me. And it says that, which, it was established in the Constitution. That's what the right to abortion. Okay, so Kentucky's trigger law went into effect immediately. Like they couldn't even wait to put it out there as usual, which bans abortion except when the mother's life is at risk. And that is subjective as well, depending upon the physician knowing to lose your license, threatening the mother. So House Bill 203, and both Republicans and Democrats have tried to add exceptions to the ban in recent years, but all attempts have been unsuccessful. So, Mr. Willie Carver, what say you?
One, I share your dismay and never truly believed that we would see a day where Roe v. Wade would fall. And you said the word subjective, and that's the problem. When we try to even patch these things up, when I think about the women in my family, multiple women in my family have had technical pregnancies that they could not carry, even if they had wanted to. And in both cases, they would have led to death had they been forced to carry those. My mom was rushed to the emergency room when I was a kid because she had a tubal pregnancy. Um, so doctors it's the same thing that we were going through with the school stuff before. They write these bills in such dramatic ways that even when they try to carve out a little bit of space, what ends up happening is that no doctor is going to take that risk because of the gravity of if they're found guilty. It's sort of like saying, okay, if you think that a woman's life is in danger, then you're allowed to. However, we're not going to establish any definitions of what that looks like, and you could go to prison. Faced with that, I think most doctors aren't going to touch it. And so I'm grateful that we're trying to pass some legislation to write some caveats. I just wonder how useful it will actually be, and how many women will actually get to um, have those services if they need them, just because of how things are written.
Exactly. And, you know, a lot of people get it wrong. Like, we're saying your first line of you get pregnant, and we're advocating for you to have an abortion. No, 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 no,
Mhm.
no, no, no. But if that is your decision, you should have medically um, excellent conditions to do that. As I said before, many years ago, I had a friend of mine from Paducah, Kentucky, whose sister basically hemorrhaged to death from a back alley abortion. And let me get this right with everyone. When we say back alley abortion, it doesn't always happen like in the alley, right? It's just that it's not legal. Sometimes the conditions are not sterile. If you're bleeding too much, they're going to pack up everything and they're going to run out and leave you there. So, you know, if you want to make that decision and you're able to be in the hospital in a sterile environment with certified doctors and nurses that can take care of anything that may arise, then hey, I'm for that. I'm for that.
Mhm.
So I want to talk to you about another thing. I talked to my uncle today. My uncle used to be a VP at Brown Foreman. Okay. So it really surprised me, but it didn't surprise him. He's been retired since 2019 from Brown Foreman, but they're closing the Louisville site of the Cooperage, and they're laying off about 650 workers
Mhm.
globally. And also, may I mention that Brown Foreman was one of the first companies that actually got rid of their DE and I programs and departments within their corporation, which was really, 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 really bad for me. And my uncle told me that he had sold all his stock in Brown Foreman. I said, "Whoa, what is going on?" He saw the writing on the wall. So Brown Foreman, which is a giant spirits company based in right here in Louisville, Kentucky. There goes Louisville again. I'm not just trying to do show. I'm not trying to do just stories on Louisville. It's just kind of like coincidental. So here we go. It was announced yesterday that it plans to reduce its global workforce by 12% as part of a series of strategic initiatives to position the company for continued growth in the dynamic global spirits market. The workforce layoffs are expected to affect around 650 employees, as I said before, which equals also 12% of Brown Foreman's 5,400 employees worldwide. The company also plans to close its Louisville based barrel making operation, Brown Foreman Cooperage, by April the 25th of this year. That will cut jobs right here in Louisville for about 210 hourly and salaried employees and is part of an overall layoff strategy. Brown Foreman's portfolio includes brands. Love these brands, but now that we have to pay for it, it's a little different. When my uncle was there, we always had all of everything. But their portfolio includes Woodford Reserve, Old Forester, Jack Daniels, um, on and on and on. Little Black Dress wine, Bola wines, Corbel champagnes, and I could go on and on. Fetzer, I could go on and on and on and on. And also our very own Christy Brown, who lives in Louisville, the heiress to the Brown Forman fortune. She is a billionairess. I just put it to you like that. But Brown Forman is gonna do a little something for their people. They said that they will offer affected employees severance, outplacement services, and benefits consistent with their terms of employment. It plans to source the barrels from an external supplier in the future. So this is 2025 now, and Brown Forman is celebrating 155 years of delivering nothing better in the market. Let me read that again because I don't think I got it. Did you get that, Willie?
Mm.
In 2025, Brown Forman celebrates 155 years of delivering nothing better in the market. Okay, I see. They're like, we don't, like, there's nothing else in the market. At first, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And the spokesperson with Brown Forman says, we have achieved this impressive milestone in part because of our relentless focus on evolving our strategy, our portfolio, and our organization to grow and thrive. And that was Lawson Whiting, the company's president and CEO, in a statement. So the tide is already turning. We're not drinking enough. What's the deal? It seems like with the way things have been going,
Mhm.
that the stocks would rise, right? So what's going on with Brown Forman?
I've seen that young people don't drink nearly as much as we did at their age, because they're all
Okay, whoa,
vaping.
whoa, whoa, whoa. What makes you think that I was drinking when I
We collectively, I've never touched a drop of the stuff.
we going to hell in a handbasket. We lying. Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, this year was the first year. It was something I wish I had it in front of me. But where the average more young people do some form of edible than drink alcohol, something along those lines, or the preference is higher now. But we just had some sort of shift where marijuana became the choice and not alcohol.
I
Maybe
can
that
believe,
has something to do with it.
yeah, yeah, I can believe that. I don't even drink as much anymore. And since that medicinal, our producer Annabel, medicinal marijuana, Mary Jane, will be legal in this state. It's going to take some time to get those things up and going. However, we do know some of the pros of, the cannabis, and then there are some cons as well. But I think the pros probably outweigh the cons. So I do want to say this, that young people are not drinking as much. We that are older are not drinking as much. I remember growing up, and my mom and they had parties at the house all the time. The liquor was flowing freely, and you just think maybe on a humanistic point that when times are hard, people are going to grab maybe
Mhm.
one more drink or two.
Yeah, that
Is this
certainly
surprising
seems
to
right to
you?
me. It is, yeah, because that seems right to me, right? It seems like that's how people behave, and it's every memory I have of how people behaved. Certainly, me during the pandemic. Surely, we were all drinking more at the height of the pandemic. Um, so yeah, a mystery.
It's a mystery. All those um I don't want to say garbage men. I want to say environmental engineers. That's what they like to
Hmm.
be called. Uh they were talking about they were picking up a lot of bags and bags just full of bottles. And I was like, where they live at? I'm gonna go over there, right? I'm gonna go over there. But I'm so excited. One of your colleagues, should I say, and yourself with this just I just think writing poetry and having that creative spirit is so amazing. Can you hear me okay?
Um, you were cutting out for a second, but I got the gist of the end of it. So I'm excited, and I heard something great. If anybody's out
Oh,
there who's thinking about this creative process, um, it was in someone was citing a book that they had read, so I can't tell you the origins. But basically, no, it was a colleague who went to her writing instructor and said, "Do you think I'm writing at the level where I can be published now? Do you think I'm finally there and a good writer?" And the instructor said, "What makes a person worthy of being published is that they write, because there are lots of people who are really good at it who don't find the time to do it, don't get the opportunity in their life to do it. But if you can just put aside some time to tell your story, to write your poems, there will be avenues for you." And I thought that's really something I think more people need to hear. That if you just find the time to do it, you'll get there. And that's something that's really special. And Belle's going to talk about it, about this collection and who got to be published in it.
well, I want to say this, Belle Thompson and Mr. Willie Carver, my friend here, discarded a poetry anthology assembled by Belle and featuring some poems by friend of the show. You know who that is. Welcome you both. Um, Belle, tell us about Discarded. How did it come about and what motivated you? I really want to know this question. I'm all in. Look, I'm going closer to the screen. You know, and what motivated you to put together such a significant undertaking?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I have worked on 8 election cycles in Kentucky, mostly in rural areas. I'm from rural Kentucky, from Roberts in Western Kentucky. And in working on so many campaigns, I talked to so many people in rural areas who had never had anyone knock on their door or invite them into political conversation in any way. And, I left Kentucky. I went to school in Boston, studied political science, and really learned even more how people perceive Kentucky outside of this state. So I'm very passionate about changing how we think about rural areas. And I wrote a poetry collection called Push and Pull, and I had a poem in it called God Bless the Calloused, where I really try to talk about these things. And I made a video reading the poem, and it really circulated on TikTok and Instagram. And I found these people all across the US that shared my ideas and that also felt there was a gap there in those stories being shared, especially for queer folks and people of color in rural areas. So I had the idea to put this thing together. I wanted to make more space for other folks because I just wasn't seeing presses that were publishing these folks. Like Willie said earlier, we need to publish voices that aren't these hoity-toity academic folks. Everybody has a voice that deserves to be shared. And I was just so taken aback by how many people applied and just such quality of the work that people turned in. So it's really been just such a pleasure to put together. And I really think that we've challenged a lot of stereotypes with putting this book together.
You would think that Vice President elect J.D. Vance would have pulled some more people with him, right? But it doesn't always happen that way. But Mr. Willie, I want you to tell me, I have to read on my little.
And you're cutting out if you can hear me. I bring your
I
list.
said, tell
Gotcha.
me about
Uh,
right. I
um,
said, tell me about some.
Vance,
And look,
I ain't
after
gonna
that,
take
can you
nobody with
read
us.
us one of the poems?
Yes. Um, I'm just gonna talk because I still couldn't hear your question. It freezes at exactly the same moment each time. Um, I think I'm just gonna talk about this from a
I know,
political
right?
kind of standpoint. I'm talking to some high school
I'm
kids
gonna take
tomorrow, and I've been
myself off
thinking,
the camera.
yeah. Um, I was thinking about how if you're a minoritized person, it's to some extent impossible to escape the political. Because most of your joy, your sadness, your frustration, those things are all tied to how your life is either being controlled or, despite that control, you're finding ways to um, to be who you are. And being who you are in a world that doesn't want you to be who you are is a political act. And what I think is so important about this collection is when you talk about rural people, so often um, they don't really get any affirming messages at all from outside of here. When I think about your average person who knows some things, right? What they know is I'm a good, decent person, right? And I'm just trying to live my life. The sad thing is, a lot of the interactions that rural person is going to have outside of the rural place they live is going to be with people in urban areas who might say or do something that lets them know, okay, I'm kind of judged from where I come from. I'm the country bumpkin. I'm the idiot. I'm the whatever. Whereas, and often the way that country person or that rural person is gonna assign value to the situation is, okay, liberal person thinks I'm the redneck. And often that comes from conversation, but more often it just comes from media. When we see how television portrays us, when we see how politicians of both sides sort of portray us. I think what would be so beneficial for the Democratic Party and for liberal people to sort of consider in general is when that person listens to conservatives who are politicians who are lying through their teeth, but they're saying over and over and over, you matter and you're important, and I hear you and I see you. And I think if the left started doing that a little more, saying you matter and I hear you, um, and I think we could do a lot of good work. I can read a couple of things. I'll read one of mine, but I want to read at least one of somebody else's. Um, uh, Aaron's not here to stop me from saying the one potentially offensive word in it. So this is called "We Were Here," and this one actually started when a form of this started when I was in college. Whole universes spin and angels fever dance in the dripping paint of the ancient sky, planets turning at their own speeds, celestially asleep, while these hills slowly bend before the thrusts of time. We whisper gently in front of this darkness. The night the night drapes over the holler, and therefore us, a rusted roof tar swipe of negative space, obscuring our pasts and our cocks. Bic lighter flick tick and a Marlboro red rises with its light, holy witness to our shallow inhaling. Your burning ember words flutter up over us and then just disappear, eaten away at the edges by the warmth of their meaning. It thaws at me and scatters your round hillbilly phonemes across the sealed stillness of the air breathing with us. Headlights scratch the early morning off the frozen trailer windows, dragging along the thrum of uncounted engines. Down the holler and inside, Coat-wrapped youngins sleep folded into the slow hum of back seats with the heat turned on as their mom's last gush of black coffee spills them forward in the open and daylight. And I can, I'll read one more poem by somebody else, and then we can talk about poems in general or about either one. Sam Ratcliffe is doing an MFA at the University of Kentucky and is an absolutely great writer. And do you know what county Sam's from, Belle? Down in Eastern Kentucky.
I don't. Yeah.
I don't know if it's painful or not. That's why I was asking. But as we've talked about on the show, there's a major problem in Paintsville and the entire county, Martin County, with there being almost no access to water for a lot of people because of industrial accidents and drain off from mining. It's called Southern Thirst. Which drink will it be? The one that poisons me. Did you know the South is all debris moving downstream, asking which cup has a sheen? I'm tired of holding mason jars up to the light in the middle of the night, worrying, because that's what 35 and 24 looks like, learning. America's most important bedtime story. No one is coming for the poor. What else about Flint are we forgetting? Palestine, up the road in Martin County. Where does your conviction go when you're thirsty? 4,700 dead people, 3,500 dead fish. The air smells like plastic, and the dog won't stop vomiting on lies. No detection of contaminants is just fancy language for prove it, redneck. These days, I avoid looking. I just drink up like a good Kentuckian. I just breathe in all the smoke like I'm told to. My tired, matching pillow lungs hug crud. And through the jar haze, I meet my grandpa's dead gaze. He's telling me scary stories about ghosts bound by dark coal. He wants to tell me why they keep snuffing out the South, but he just can't catch his breath to get it out.
I checked, and it's Nicholasville that Sam is from.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Where can I buy it?
So we have them available on backwoodsliterarypress.com. You can get them directly from there. And then on our Instagram, Backwoods Literary Press, we post about different events that we do, workshops, panels, readings, and we have books available at those. And then there's all kinds of libraries and bookstores that have them now. We're going to continue carrying them over the next few months, which is exciting.
That is exciting. I need to get my book out. I don't know what it's going to be called. It'll be called something good. It'll catch your attention. So I want to ask this question to either one of you all, okay? A common thread of many of the contributors in this book is being part of the LGBTQIA2S plus community. When did
Two-Spirit.
Huh?
Two-Spirit, Indigenous folks.
Okay. In your own experience, how do you feel that queerness and rurality are in communication with each other?
So I have a paragraph at the end of the introduction that I wrote for the book that I think kind of touches on this, and I'll circle back to it. And I know Willie has a great answer for this too that I want him to say. So what I wrote was, this anthology documents folk storytelling, odes to nature, political commentary about home, the rural role in global politics and history, understandings of how we got where we are, and visions for where we go from here. This collection is a talisman on the altar of virality, a devotion to lineages of people who were and continue to be discarded. There is no group of people who are expendable, no matter who tries to erase their nuance and rewrite them into an undeserving monolith. We are each other's to take care of, each other's to understand, each other's to document. These poems, essays, and songs are all offerings to you. We hope they will find you where they are meant to. We hope they will continue to. And I think that what I kind of touched on there is that, you know, rural folks take care of each other. We understand taking care of our neighbors and how we have a shared interest in doing that. And I think that in the queer community, we have the very same understanding. And there's that through line of being pushed to the margin in our society, which the foreword to the book was written by Olivia Dudding Rodriguez. And she writes about that, about how there's this term called counterpublics, where people who are marginalized create their own kind of publics, and how rural folks and queer folks exist in that space where we make our own communities and we take care of each other because we have to. I think that's my answer.
Well, I love what you just read. I just want to say that. Willie, I'm going to direct this to you, okay?
Same question or the next question?
No, it's another question.
Okay.
You coming up there like we're getting ready to do the game show or something there. Now, you and Belle are such powerful defenders of and challenges to rural Kentucky, sharing a more nuanced view, I would say, of these important areas of our Commonwealth. So, more than anything, this is a political show. And it's hard to envision a progressive future for this state of Kentucky without a greater connection to rural communities. I just want to say, what would you encourage our listeners and politically minded people, okay, to consider as we seek to work more effectively to find common ground with rural communities?
I think the single most effective thing a person can do is not to insult conservatives in ways that automatically include rural people. When people say words like redneck, hillbilly, and a bunch of other ones I won't even say, I think often the way of insulting someone when people say, well, like, oh, they're just uneducated, as if lacking access to education is someone's fault or is indicative of a problem in their ability to think or their ability to reason or their ability to be a good person. I think oftentimes progressives who have worked so hard to understand the world and to see it from as many dimensions as possible are frustrated when they think conservatives aren't doing that as well they should be. And ironically, in talking about conservatives, they end up casting all rural folk into the same group. I think when during Bashir's election, I saw over and over and over again in threads people saying like, "Oh, those just the dumb hillbillies, the whatever hillbillies," or I'll see just people arguing back and forth, and they'll sort of throw out that term. But when I think hillbilly, I think my family building our house from scratch and my papa growing tomatoes for me. And I think of the men who were coal mining. That to me is not a negative word. So I would say if the left could start treating rural people with as much nuance as they treat lots of other groups and start realizing that the left is not a monolith. There are queer folks, black folks, brown folks, lesbians and atheists and witches and every other possible thing you can imagine that is part of humanity. And we are all to some extent, because of where we live, looking and acting a certain way. I think there's a lot of people who might on the surface look more conservative than they are, maybe because of the church that they're going to, or maybe because of, I don't know, even the people that they hang out with. But I think even if you look at other places, if you look at any city, right, people are going to adopt the the culture of what's around them. And that doesn't say anything about who they are as a person. And I fail at this constantly. So I think keeping all those things in mind would be helpful.
Just like you were Teacher of the Year, that was an honor, and it showed your perseverance. It showed your love to be an educator. It showed that you make a difference. That's what I think.
Thank
Whether
you.
I knew you personally or not, someone who gets Teacher of the Year, this is what I'm thinking to myself.
And my husband can tell you the irony of that win, and thank you,
more than
is that
just
it never occurred to me that they wouldn't pick a gay person. I did not think I could win because I live in Eastern Kentucky. And I said to my husband over and over, like they're going to pick some Appalachian. They're going to pick somebody from Lexington or Louisville or some suburb of Cincinnati. Like, I had in my mind this image of the sort of person that I thought would be able to be picked. And I think a lot of us can sympathize, because I think a lot of us go into situations thinking like, I'm automatically, like, we look at the people who are in control and we think about how they see us. And I think a lot of people might not know that rural folks are doing this too. Rural folks, I think of my friend Courtney, who literally said, like, what's the point? Like, anybody's going to hire me with the way I talk. I think about the fact that we were at a dinner party one time and someone who thought he was joking said, well, I mean, thought he was saying something that could be said, I mean, in all honesty, no, I wouldn't hire someone who talks like this. And I think about how often she has replayed that when she's talking about her dreams. I don't think people realize how much rural people think about this. I think the left just sees, trucks that are co-rolling and people flying flags, and that's sort of the image. And they don't think of as much about all those other people. And thank you, Kim.
Well, I just only tell the truth. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners, he did not pay me to say that. I said that on my own because that's exactly how I feel. Now, the last question that I have is, what is the one thing, and I'm directing this to both of you all, with Belle to answer first. What is the one thing that you hope that people can take with them after reading this anthology?
For me, it's just an understanding that, we're not as different as people might think. Like I said earlier, there's value of taking care of your neighbors in rural communities, and that's rooted in freedom and solidarity and justice and things that are at the heart of progressivism. And honestly, as a leftist, I have learned more from rural folks than I have in a classroom in Boston, where there's more colleges than anywhere else in the US. There's so much to learn from rural folks, and I hope that people don't see that as like a condescending lesson, but as an invitation that we are allies in this fight for collective liberation, and we have a shared interest in fighting together.
Absolutely beautifully stated. And I think, all of my progressive rural folks also love how much they've been able to learn from people outside of here. We go into schools and devour thoughts that were not born in rural areas and appreciate them. So yeah, for one, I definitely agree with that there are approaches in rural areas that are more progressive than they look like if we start thinking about the individual as a political agent and not just groups as political agents. I would just hope that someone could see how beautiful the thinking is, how deep and interesting it is. When I think about Cole Allen or Shiloh Stump or some of these people who are just absolutely breathtakingly talented, I hope that people look at Iowa and Eastern Kentucky with fresher eyes after they read it.
And Miss Belle, one more time, let everybody know how we can get our hands on Discarded.
BackwoodsLiteraryPress.com. We have our store on there, and then our Instagram, Backwoods Literary Press. We post about events that we'll have the book at and locations where you can get the book as well.
And call your local bookstore and ask them if they can get it. Call Coffee Tree and Moorhead and ask them.
Is it? It's on Amazon?
It's not on Amazon. It's on our storefront on our website. And then we are currently working with Ingram to make it more available soon.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. It has been so wonderful talking to both of you all today. It has been so wonderful to meet you, Belle, and all that you're doing. I really appreciate it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And Mr. Willie Carver Jr., you're a superstar now, known.
As are you. It's been so good to see you again. I'm so glad that we were working together. No.
I know. I really, really appreciate it. But make sure that both of you all go ahead and share this out. Everybody that's looking tonight, please share this amazing show tonight with Belle Townsend and Willie Carver Jr., former Teacher of the Year of Kentucky. And that's saying a lot. That is saying a lot. And for Belle to come into the picture as well, I'm telling you, it's an amazing duo that I'm seeing. And I can't wait to read the other poets as well. I know it's going to be a great read for me. And also learn more about our rural areas, because I really do want to learn more about it. I'm from Zion, Illinois. So when you go to Chicago or you go to Wisconsin, you go to Milwaukee, they think it's like the country. Oh, you're from the country. I never saw a pig, a horse, or a cow till I was about 20 years old in Virginia. So no, it was not like the country as we know it. It was just suburban America, but the bigger cities called it the country. So I really have not had as much experience in most of our rural areas. And I know that there were a lot of Black men and women that had asked me at one time to come and speak and to help them, because some of them feel like that they are drowning in some of these areas. But all the people I know from rural areas, maybe I'm just meeting all the really good ones. I don't know, but everybody I know from a rural area is an exceptionally
Well, I wish I could pretend they were all great,
more
but
hospitable. I don't know. I might want to be rural one day. I might want to move into a rural area one day when I get a little bit older and I don't want anybody bothering me, right? So I appreciate both of you all being on the show tonight. You all made my night. I just want to be honest with you. So you're going to share it. Everybody that's listening, everybody that's viewing, please, please, please share this to all your friends and family. Let's get the word out about Discarded. And I'm sure that everyone can resonate with this, because at some point in time in our lives, no matter if you're suburban, urban, rural, or whatever, we've all have felt discarded at some point in time in our lives. So I'm sure that this will speak to me and everyone else that reads it. You all coming back again. Willie, don't be a stranger. Belle, don't you either. Okay?
I won't.
yes.
Okay. Appreciate you all being on tonight.
Thank you, Kimberly. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Tonight I'm going to do the call to action, and we're up 34 actions so far on our efforts to expand excused early voting to include caregivers to the ill and infirm voters who are currently allowed to use the 6 days of excused early voting. The Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before the Tuesday election. What a lot of folks experienced with the no excuse early voting was very long lines. I heard that a lot. Very, very long lines. Where I went, there was not a line. So I was very, very fortunate for that. But having very long lines can really work against the ill or the infirmed and their caregivers. Utilizing the 6 days before the no excuse days will allow for shorter lines and an increased flexibility. Exactly what we feel that these people need to utilize their right to select our representatives and weigh in on ballot measures. But there is some good news on this effort. Our friend Adam Moore has taken up the issue. He's a common sense, solutions oriented new lawmaker, but he is in the Democratic Party. So I think we'll want to see if he can continue to build support for this effort and find him a Republican representative or two, perhaps, to work with. Please click through and take action right now. Help us push past 50 letters to Kentucky lawmakers. I'm just going to say tonight was amazing with Miss Belle Townsend and, of course, our friend and former co-host, Mr. Willie Carver Jr. It has been just a wonderful, wonderful night. Now, Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State, organized as a 501c4. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project and the Commonwealth Alliance for Voter Engagement, otherwise known as CAVE. And we are also proud members of the Forward Kentucky Network. Progress Kentucky's goal is organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. So please, please, please join us next week because we will be speaking with the Reverend Dr. Leah D. Shade, I believe that's how you say it, about the rise of Christian nationalism in Kentucky and how it is influencing our politics. This should really be an eye-opener for us. We hope that you plan to join us. It's going to be great. I promise it's going to be awesome next week. And the production of episode 193 tonight was by, and I'm so proud to announce, Emerge Class of 2025 member Annabel Nagel. Nate Orshan wrote and performed our theme songs. You can find more information and music at natosongs.com. And once again, that's NATO songs.com. And if you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook or YouTube, audio podcasts and our show notes are always available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. If you do listen to the pod, please, please, please give us a 5. It helps to do a 5-star review wherever you are listening. Logo and some graphic content was provided by Couchfire Media. It's Wednesday. You only got a few more days to go. Do something nice for somebody. Not only will they feel great, you will feel amazing. So see you here next week, same channel, same time. And please enjoy the rest of your week.